Guys, welcome to Living Beyond Limitations, the channel that inspires and motivates you to become all that God has created you to be and live a life of purpose. My name is Daniela Ibikiri and I am your host. Have you ever wondered how you would be able to cope and navigate life if you were born different in a world not designed for you? Well, you would find out today from my guest, Kefas James Lungu. Kefas hails from Adamawa State, is a Better Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador, a Python, C, and JavaScript developer, development operations engineer, is currently a final year student at the University of Jos, where he's studying history and international studies. Kefas was born blind, but that didn't limit him from achieving success, as he is making meaningful contribution to the society and the world at large in the field of technology. So let's meet Kefas James Lungu. Hi, Kefas. Welcome to Living Beyond Limitations. It's good to have you here.
Thank you.
As my previous guests, they both lost their sight while growing up. So the first person born blind that I would be having a conversation with. I'm really curious to hear your story. Once again, it's good to have you here.
Thank you.
All right. So,
Hey,
so you are an IT guru.
yeah, that is what they say, but we are
Oh
still
my,
learning.
Before we go into what you do as a tech person, I'd like to know how you've been able to cope and navigate life being born different. And I will start by asking you this. At what age did you realize you were different?
I was actually born blind. So around 2003, let's say when I was around 6, I realized that I was different. I discovered that some things I couldn't do on my own. I didn't know what blindness was. I realized that everyone around me at home back then could see and do things by themselves, but I couldn't do some things without my mom being present. I knew I cannot see. So I thought it was something that I could just go to the hospital and fix. So when my younger sister was born 2003, reality began to hit me even at that young age. So I realized that okay, I can't see, but my younger sister can. And all my friends are going to school, but I am not. So, in fact, at some point, I thought I was the only blind person in the world until when I went to school. It was until 2004 that I was sent to Zuba, and then which the school is currently Ajabi in Abuja,
oh,
that is the capital of Nigeria. So
okay.
we going there, I was so happy because I met people that could relate. I mean, people that could live a normal life. And my mom, she was crying that, okay, she's going to leave me for the first time to stay with someone she doesn't even know, a place that she too is visiting for the first time. So it felt bad for her, while me, in the other hand, I was very happy because I met people I could relate with.
So you thought you were the only blind person in the world. So did you
Yes.
feel like God was unfair to you?
Okay, then I didn't even know God. As far as I know, I'm just existing. And of course, from around age 6, 7, the whole knowing of God, probably you just know a few verses from the Bible, and coupled with the fact that I was staying at the barracks. People don't really take religion that serious back then. My dad, who was a very religious person, is not the type to really stay at home like that. My mom was still going to school back then. So the whole issue of supernatural God not being fair, I don't know, but I know that as far as I'm concerned, life is not fair because I can't see. And since at that time, I still think I was the only blind person in the world. So I just felt tough. whatever it is that will happen, it will happen. But me being the only blind person in the world is not fair to me. Of course, until that 2004 when I met other people who could relate.
Yeah, I understand. It must have been a source of relief for you, knowing that you were not the only blind person in the world. So at what age did you now know God?
That's later on in life when I begin to understand my surroundings better. And as soon as I realized, when my dad started coming back home, he always tell us to pray, to do this. And then there was this lady back then that would always come and take us to church, not the Sunday church anymore, any evening prayers and stuff like that. So around 2005, 2006, I knew my surroundings, and from time to time, I used to pray, of course.
So have you ever prayed to God to receive sight? And if no, why?
I don't know. I said it's not a priority. Well, it's people like you who have seen the world and want to see it again. But people like me who have never seen the world, well, doesn't really make any difference. After all, this is the only life I know. When my colleagues prayed that one day, God, I want to see. It's not something that I've ever prayed for, strange enough. It's not necessarily a priority for me. I can do my things just fine. Well, I think it was just once twice that I tried to do something and I couldn't. And because of that, I felt, God, this is not fair. I should have been seen now. So, number one, really, when I started in tech, which we are going to talk about a bit later, I wanted to go into cybersecurity. But I have a lot of hurdles that means I will not go into cybersecurity. But we'll talk about that later. Again, I think there was this day I was supposed to had reset a computer, and unknowingly to me, my work wasn't working because somehow the computer stopped talking. I had to go and look for somebody to come and fix it for me, something that I should be able to fix, but because I cannot see the screen and my system is not talking, and by then Microsoft has not yet released Seeing AI, so I couldn't even check. So it became, wow, if I could see, I should have actually done this by myself, but now that I cannot see, then there's no way I can do it. But it's fine. I think that is the two instances that I wish I could see, but I've never prayed for it. And why? Well, I don't know. I just don't think, I believe that as I am, I'm doing, well, 95% okay. I think the only time I need someone, the reasons why I need people is actually reducing by the day with the introduction of technology, because I used to be, okay, come and check money for me. Now I could do that with an app. Come and escort me somewhere. Actually, I could order a ride. Come and cook for me. I could cook by myself. So probably the things that people used to do for me that will make me want to do them by myself, I think technology have made them very, very accessible. I could do majority of these things by myself. So the need for sight is going down.
Amazed you've never prayed to God to receive sight. While the role technology plays in the lives of visually impaired people cannot be overemphasized. It just makes life easier and reduces some level of dependency. Like you said, you really don't need people to do things for you. I mean, there are a lot of things you can do for yourself with technology. And
Currently at the University of Jos studying history and
History
international
and
studies.
studies.
But you're fully in tech too. Okay, before we go
Yes.
into how you do as a tech person, would you just like to share your journey going through school from when you went to the school for the blind. I wish I went to that same school. I'm surprised. I'm just hearing it for the first time that it wasn't really at the place I went for mine, like Jabi. They moved from
Yeah.
somewhere else to that place. Okay. So what
Yes.
has your journey been like?
So it started like this. So when I went to school, the very first week, I started learning Braille. It was difficult at first, but that was the first method of writing I'll have to learn. I had learned the English alphabet before now, when my parents got me an English teacher and a mathematics teacher. So navigating through the primary school was there's nothing unique about that, given that we are all the same person, apart from our staff, both academic and non-academic staff. So around 2007, I started learning how to type using the manual typewriter. Of course, you could type something, but you can't read it. Around that same time, I got a first glance of a computer with a screen reader. The first time I saw it, I was actually fascinated about it. My secondary school came with a very, very different landscape. So in 2011, I came to Plateau State here. I went to Boys Secondary School, Gindri. When I went there was only one blind student up. And then myself and another person came, we became three. Out of a possible 800 students, there are only 3 blind students. Okay, so this is a new life I was never used to. So you have to explain yourself every day to people. Okay, as a blind person, how do you do this? How did you do that? The lecturers or the staff, some of them, well, they don't know anything about us. Some of them are just, wow, how are you coping? While some of them do. But the beauty of the thing is God is always there. I mean, one of the things that I really found difficult then was taking notes. Okay, so we adopted a strategy. We allow our students, that is our classmates, to take notes, and then we will come and collect the notes in the evening, record it or braille it, or whichever way you could work with. Remember that as you are typing with your typewriter for those staff to read, you can't see. So you are just typing, you can't make any corrections, but you are typing. And at that time, we were not allowed to use phones. We didn't know any sophisticated software that could make life easier. We had to go and fetch water ourselves, go to a place that was never designed for body with visual impairment. I mean, it was so difficult because the life there was, the school setting was designed for people with sight, but you have to navigate it. So after that, I went to Zaria fully now to go and learn computer. I had to go and learn basic computer, and then I learned it on my own because the world doesn't really care, or this part of the country doesn't really care about people living with visual impairments. So I had to learn it in some other way. There are people who teach us with a specialized software called the screen reader. Coming to the university, of course, I'm a bit exposed, but then I was the only visually impaired person in my department. From 400 level to 100 level, I was the only one. So some of the lecturers who had gone to Gindri have seen visually impaired people before, while others didn't. Now, apparently, the school too wasn't designed for people like this. So, but now I have access to my phone. I could do things myself. I could come up with ideas, because as a visually impaired person, the reality is, whether you like it or not, there is no specific learning curve. In fact, to move on in life, you have to carve out your path. Someone said it before, and then I agree with that person. It was a blind cybersecurity engineer that I saw on Twitch. So he said you have to find a way and carve out a path that you will understand. And that is what I've been doing. And that is what have been helping me complete my education, even give out handouts to my sighted counterparts, because I've carved out a learning path or a learning strategy that really, really worked exceptionally well for me. If I don't learn, it's because I don't want to learn. But I've been able to navigate all the challenges of life just the way they come. Obviously, we are going to, by the grace of God, find a workaround to it.
Wow. Yeah, I understand. Going through schools that are not designed for you. That must have been challenging. But I like what you said though. Like, you have to carve a path for you. I think a lot of people going through life challenges struggle in life because they've not been able to carve a path for themselves.
Hence, why the depression, being suicidal, or like, how do I cope? How do I navigate life? But come on, like
Yes.
just as you said, if you're able to carve a path for yourself, life becomes easier for you.
Yeah.
So
You just
it
have to be
just seems
creative.
like everything has been so well for you. Have you ever battled with depression?
No,
No. Oh, wow.
I don't think I've never battled with depression. No.
So I think like people that battle with depression are people like me that became impaired later in life. I believe people like you, that's the only life you're used to. So there's no point being depressed about it. But we never know, right? There might be some people that were born blind with impairments that are still struggling to cope and navigate life well. So you're the tech guy. I mean, you are an historian, but you're fully into tech. I would like to know how you became the tech guru that you are right now.
In 2018, when I went to write my jam, I met a very good friend of mine. So, as a visually impaired person, you don't write jam like every other person. We go to a center and we write our jam there. So, once I went to write jam, I saw a friend of mine. Remember, in my primary school, I said earlier on that I got, as soon as I touched a talking computer, it was fascinating. So, the moment I went to Rajam, he showed me his own personal computer, and wow, it was talking and all of that. So once I got back home, I told my dad, of course, this is the age of tech. 2018, I learned computer for 3 months. I came out as the best in my class.
Wow.
After coming out as the best in my class, I came back. I'm the type of person who I'm not going to see something and just allow it to be. Once growing up, I was told that I always dismantle whatever I was given. So this time around, instead of dismantling it, I would rather just make findings to it. So I started touching my computer. Things became better. And then in 2019, I got admission to the university, but before then, I could go online, download things by myself. I could install basic applications. God blessed me with lockdown. That is how I always put it. To me, that was a blessing because once I went to lockdown, I went to stay with my uncle, my father's younger brother. He told me that instead of just staying around, why not learn how to code? Use a website like Free Code Camp. I don't know how he got to know the website, but he's not a tech guy. So he just told me to use Free Code Camp. So I started learning HTML. I could learn HTML. So the first HTML code that I wrote was just a test. I could embed my Facebook URL, Twitter. Okay, then I was not on Twitter, but Facebook and whatever. I could put my Facebook URL and just display it. Of course, I can't see. So CSS was not an option. I didn't care about display back then. So I could do these things perfectly okay. And then somehow, I started learning Python during the same lockdown. And then once the lockdown was called off, I decided to pay for a course with this excellency online. And then that was where we met. Yes.
Yeah.
So yes, that was where we met so that I could become a better Python engineer. And then one of the most difficult programs I had to enroll in is the ALX. It's a 9-month intensive software engineering program, which you will be trained on how to code in C. That was where I learned how to code in C, and then JavaScript, and then Python with some other things. It was so difficult. Sky, I think that's one of the most difficult things I had to engage in. So, but of course, the tech also has its own ups and downs. There are some things that I can't do. For example, I was talking about why I wanted to see earlier. I wanted to be a
Yeah.
cybersecurity. Yeah. Normally, I love cybersecurity. But I realized that Linux is not fully accessible with screen readers.
Right? So, in fact, I'm even thinking of learning Lua. It's another programming language so that I could go and work on the screen reader for Linux. The screen reader was actually written in Lua. Now, that is, I think, the second reason why sometimes I wish I could see, because Linux is not accessible. My dream career of a cybersecurity engineer is not possible. And then after ALA and after everything, I decided that it's time to pick something that really worked for me. So I went back to SLNC to be an assistant Python trainer. So right now, what I do, sometimes I'm into technical writing.
So, wow, I see. Must have been heartbreaking, not pursuing your dreams of going into cybersecurity because of your circumstance. But I mean, you had to find something that worked for you.
Yes, I went to a program, yes, organized by the Just Microsoft community. And then the lady, currently a Microsoft Most Valuable Professional, Tabitha Harris, said, okay, she's going to collect my contacts and see what I could come up with. And then at Global Power Platform Bootcamp 2023, she called me to give a presentation, which I did. I gave a presentation on how to use Power Automate to automate your desktop activities, from automatically shutting down or cleaning up your hard drive or do whatever it is that you want to do at some particular point. So you could use Power Automate to do that. Now, immediately after that program, Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador program was offered to me, like, by a then student ambassador, Paul Umoru. He was like, okay, would you like to be a student ambassador? We train students, on Microsoft technologies, and then we have some benefits from Microsoft that I was like, okay, let's give it a try. And then he helped me. I applied. I was accepted into the program. That is another new phase in my life, because again, I am as time passes by, I meet different categories of people. Now in tech, I have met a lot of people who doesn't really know much about visual impairment. In fact, there are some people that maybe they only find out I can't see when they watch this video, but they don't know. We have been interacting, doing projects together, and it's not necessary. I don't tell people. So I became a student ambassador. I think this July 2024 makes it 1 year that I became a student ambassador, and it has been moving greatly because I have learned a whole lot. I have really met people in the community who have impacted my life. So currently, as I earlier said, I'm writing technical articles. I'm currently building a course for people who want to learn Python. And then after that, I'm going to build another course strictly for visually impaired people. And then immediately after that, I think I'm going to build a course for visually impaired people who would like to learn computer from the basics, because I realize that with the way things are going, you just need that basic knowledge. I think at some point, people will meet me, okay, I want to learn, I want to do this. I'll be like, okay, let's do something. I had to go and meet the school authority, that's the University of Jos, to give me one of their labs so that we could have some sessions for people living with visually impairments, which they did. So with some staff of the ICT, myself, we're able to train some students on basic computer knowledge, and a good number of them will pick it up from there and they will pursue their career. So everything has been moving smoothly. Of course, in as much as challenges will come, but we always find a way to cross that. We always find a way to solve our problems. And by the grace of God, God has been faithful, really.
Kefas, you also provide support for NVDA. Can you share with us what that is all about?
NVDA is a non-visual desktop access. It's a screen reader that I currently use, and it gives me feedback of whatever it is on my computer screen. So I currently maintain two add-ons, that is Enhanced Touch Gestures and Resource Monitor, which were both written by Joseph Lee. Enhanced Touch Gestures is an NVDA add-on that provides additional touch commands for touchscreen computers. It allows you to use your touchscreen computer effectively. In fact, yesterday I just released another version of Enhanced Touch Gestures, just 24 hours ago. And then Resource Monitor, it allows you to check things like network usage, disk usage, and RAM, and some of these things. And then I'm currently writing another add-on. It's not yet available to the public. The first one is called NVDA Vision Assistant. So it helps you describe your current screen, everything that is on your screen. If you want a visual description like a picture, and then you are looking for a way to describe the picture, it will describe it for you. Or if you don't want to read the text, if you want to get a view of, okay, how does this window look? Does it look, is it black? And then how are things positioned? How are things arranged? Usually all we know is we are looking for buttons and other navigation elements to use, but we really don't know what they look like from a sighted person's point of view. So I'm writing add-on to fix that issue. And then secondly, it's called custom labels. So there are some buttons or some user interfaces that are not accessible. You will be working with an element and you just hear something like button. They will not tell you which button it is.
Yes, I've
So,
encountered such. Yeah.
yeah. So I'm trying to write an add-on that will allow you to add labels to these buttons. So that whenever you come to these buttons, you'll be able to know which button is this. So these are two projects that I'm currently working on for NVDA.
And Kefas, the way you're just talking about these IT thing, and I'm looking at myself like, girl, are you sure you're an IT person? Okay, yeah. So I know a lot of people don't know I'm into the tech space. My first degree, computer science, my master's information technology, and I'm also in web and application development unit in my office. So hence the reason why I went to the school I met, Kefas, SLNC, to study Python. But then there are people are just passionate about it, like Kefas Lungu. And Kefas is One of my go-to guys for computer related issues. I mean, like Kefas, I need this software. How do I navigate these computer issues and all? And he has been very effective on that. Like I said earlier, the role that technology plays in the lives of visually impaired persons cannot be overemphasized. And Kefas is one person contributing to that. Well done, Kefas. Kefas, what is that one thing that has made you to be able to cope and navigate life as a visually impaired person?
Okay, so while growing up, I'm someone who believes that whatever it is that I can do, surely if I put my head, I can do it. And God has always been there. So whatever it is I want to do, if I have the determination to do it, I always do it at the end of the day. For example, the first time I started learning NVDA user interface, it wasn't easy at all. It was something that was very, very difficult, but I was able to do it because I have the zeal and the passion to learn it because I want to contribute to that open source project that has really, really changed my life. Whatever it is that I want to do, I will always find a way to do it, either by asking around or if I'm in a place where no one has done it, then I'm going to have to, as I said earlier, carve out a strategy that works for me.
Yeah, right mindset and determination. What I always preach on this channel. Yes. And you said God has been faithful. Yeah, with God by our side, we can thrive beyond our limitations, regardless of our circumstance. Thank you, Kevas, for that brilliant conversation. All ye tech people, this episode is for you.
Thank you very much for having me.
As we come to the end, what are your final words?
So my final word is regardless of where you find yourself or regardless of which situation you find yourself, God will always see you through. You can do it. I mean, there's this popular saying that said, God will never give you something you can't carry. I mean, so just do your best. Ask people around who have faced similar challenges, and you'll be able to pull through. It's something that I find working for me and anyone who follows it. There's always, you won't be the first person to face a challenge. There's always someone who has done it before. So don't feel discouraged. Don't look at yourself as if you can't do it. You can always do it, whatever it is you want to do, whichever way you find yourself. Always keep pushing.
And for people born with impairment that are still struggling with how to cope and navigate life, what would you like to say to them?
So if you are still struggling, you can take myself as an example. You can take a lot of other people as an example who have done exceptionally well because they didn't just sit back. You can't sit back and expect things to happen. You have to make things happen by yourself. That is just how life is. Things just don't happen because they want to happen. We make things happen. So
Yeah.
stand up. By just sitting down there, you keep getting depressed and depressed. But if you do things, things becomes better.
Hmm.
How things are.
Great. Don't just sit down. Stand up. Wow. We'll end with that one.
Amazing, Kefas. Well done for all you do in the tech space for both people with visual impairment and sighted people. You're truly making impacts and meaningful contribution in the society and the world at large in the field of technology.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thanks for watching. I hope this inspires and motivates you to become all that you want to be and make impact and contribute to the society and world at large.